Welcome back. Now, the social media has been abuzz this past week with reports of hacking incident involving one of Namibia's telecommunication company known in short as Telecom Namibia. Now, it is reported that earlier this month, Telecom Namibia fell victim to a ransomware attack by a hacking group known as Hunters International. Now, reports further indicate that the group gathered 600 gigabytes worth of data comprising of 500,000 files. Now, the attackers allegedly set a ransom details, threatening to release the stolen data if the demands weren't met. Now, a deadline that wasn't met by the company. Personal information of thousands of Namibians is currently circulating on social media. Now, the risk associated with a data breach of this nature is potential criminal acts in the form of identity theft and financial fraud. Now, the group has now set its gaze on the Ministry of Health and Social Services, threatening to release contracts, tenders, and recruitment info. Now, joining me in studio, to give us an understanding of how exactly this breach took place and the extent of what the damage has been done to Telecom Namibia is its CEO, Dr. Stanley Shanapinda. Good morning, Doc, and welcome to GMN.
Good morning, and thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure to host you this morning. I think what most Namibians are asking is probably the first question that I'm going to ask. How did this happen?
This happened because a group known as Hunters International, a criminal group, I must indicate, a cyber terrorist group, compromised access details of stuff, and then accessed our file server and got hold of this confidential information.
Okay. Perhaps let's start from the initial point of contact where you had denied that there was no such breach and ending up to where we are. What was the sequence of events?
We didn't deny that at all. What we indicated from our investigations on Thursday was that no confidential information was leaked. At that particular point in time, no files were released on the dark web or on the public web. The Friday, that's when the information was then released. When we come through the files of what was actually released, we saw that there were subfolders where some of this information would have been contained. From the initial part, we didn't detect the subfolders because there are files within files that are being saved, and it just indicated that it was business-related information. And subsequent to the release on Friday, when the team come through, they came across the personal data that was then contained. So on Thursday, indications were that it wasn't. When when it was released and we come through it, we then came across that, unfortunately.
So just in a short view, saying that Thursday sort of seemed to be like as if the personal information was secured, then again on Friday it wasn't.
So that's exactly what I'm saying, that when the files were released on the Friday, which is the Friday morning, when we actually looked through all of the data that was then on the dark web, and the security teams analyzed that and went through it by folder, by folder, by folder, and subfolder, we then came across that there was, unfortunately, information contained in there.
Let's talk about the nature of this breach. How many high-ranking individuals we're talking? We saw that over the weekend, inclusive of reports, inclusive of the chairperson of the board of the NBC, talking about information relating to some members of the presidency, government, prime minister's office. What is the extent and what kind of personal information are hackers having access to, and what kind of personal information does Telecom Namibia keep with regards to its clients?
The first thing I think we want to say as Telecom Namibia, as board and management and staff, is that we absolutely regret this particular incident. We want to apologize to the Namibian public that this has occurred and that their personal data was compromised. But I want to assure everyone that we did introduce prior to that and before that, strengthening measures with regards to cybersecurity. Now, Telecom Namibia is a national company, and we have over 400,000 customers, and from all walks of life. So it is information that staff members are receiving when customers are applying for services. So those would be marriage certificates, IDs, work addresses, and so on that we keep on file to credit vetting for applications of services.
Okay. Now, we understand that the company was given a deadline in terms of paying a ransom, but you didn't pay. Are you able to tell us exactly what the amount that was being demanded at this time?
So the hackers approached us to want to negotiate the non-release. We know that from other experiences that these criminals who are demanding this ransomware are asking for exorbitant amounts to not release that. We did not engage with the hacker team because we do not negotiate with cyber terrorists.
Is there an amount, though, Doctor, that was being demanded?
They didn't give a specific amount, but they wanted to start negotiations for an amount.
Let's talk about perhaps some of the immediate steps that Telecom is taking in addressing this loophole. And where exactly are you today? We know that CRAN released a statement yesterday talking about the issue of cybersecurity is crucial, the lack of data protection in Namibia currently as we speak. But what are some of the steps that you're taking to restore confidence, and knowing already that Telecom has had a multiface of challenges over the couple of years?
So what we did is we introduced, not so long ago, a SIM, which is your security incident monitoring system. We're busy introducing the multi-factor authentication to ensure that when you do access our systems, that there are at least 2 to 3 ways within which we will verify your identity. So we've strengthened our cybersecurity posture in that particular regard, if I could just mention those 2 particular steps that we take.
Is this prior or after the breach?
So prior to the breach, we introduced the management system, and then after the breach, we then introduced more measures such as the multi-factor authentication.
Okay. Let's perhaps maybe in the sense of restoring confidence, especially you mentioned that you've got over 400,000 customers. Take us through maybe perhaps Telecom's current system security infrastructure. What does it mean when I'm trying to access information? What is currently in place? You talked about authentication. If a viewer is watching right now and perhaps wanted to test and see how safe it is, what would be required of them?
So, what do you mean in terms of a viewer?
You talked about the fact that you are doubling authentication systems. Yes. So those are the current measures we have in place. Yes. So for the ordinary citizen that is watching right now, or perhaps a customer is saying, how secure can I be? Should I be thinking about leaving Telecom today or tomorrow before the year ends?
We would absolutely love our customers to stay with us. The assurance that we want to give is, particularly when our employees are accessing the system. One of the things that we've also prevented was all that remote access to our system. We've curtailed that. So all staff members would need to be on premises to be able to access our systems. That's the one thing. What we've also done is that we have asked our teams to change their passwords and their login details. So everyone had to introduce new passwords. What we're also doing is that staff members every month are renewing their passwords when they're accessing these particular systems and files as well. So as a big company, we have a lot of systems, we've got a lot of servers, and so it's a big architectural network, and it's quite dynamic in itself as well. And so that footprint creates a possibility for an intrusion. But as we've indicated, the incident monitoring system, with the help of our external cybersecurity experts, Rapid7, that we've worked with and engaged, we are able to tell when there's an incident earlier and to stop it, as we did in this particular instance. As soon as the team identified that the traffic patterns were abnormal, they then stepped in and stopped the team on their track. So that's why in this particular incident, they didn't encrypt our data, they didn't stop us from accessing our systems. We then stopped it so that they don't continue any further.
The feeling is that Telecom has failed in this regard to protect personal data. Let's talk about perhaps, do we anticipate a legal suit coming out of this incident?
We are pursuing with law enforcement how we can trace the origin and the identity of these particular hackers, and we will continue to engage with law enforcement in that particular regard. We are engaging with CRAN as well, and we've engaged with them over the weekend as well with regards to the consumer protection requirements, and we are engaging them going forward as well. And we will then give our customers a full update later today as regards to where we stand and how we will continue to strengthen and protect their personal information going forward as well.
As we conclude our conversation this morning, and perhaps draws back to the last thing that you said, this issue about retaining customer confidence and trust within Telecom Namibia, what is going to be different this time around?
So this time around, as we've indicated, we are doing a full scan of our architecture, the various systems, which is a large set of systems that we've introduced, strengthening the firewalls, introducing strengthened virtual private network access to our systems in order to ensure that we protect these systems. We're also doing archiving and disaster recovery management to ensure business continuity as well.
Well, Dr. Stanley Shanapinda, thank you very much for making time to speak to us this morning.
Thanks very much for having us. If I could please, if you allow me an opportunity to also just ask the general public out there that if you do come across any of the information that's out there in the public web, to rather not share it on. Because when you are sharing that information, you're going and you're retrieving it, and you're sharing it on social media or via email, that you would be committing a criminal act by sharing confidential information that you're not required to about the other party. So please do not share that information any further. You may be liable for spreading or sharing personal information that you're not entitled to and not supposed to, and sharing it with third parties that are not supposed to see it.
Well, Doctor, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Now, that was Dr. Stanley Shanapinda, who's the CEO of Telecom, talking to us about the recent hacking incident that involved Telecom Namibia, and talking to us about exactly what Telecom is trying to do to ensure the matter be resolved, and also indicating that when you do come across this information, ideally, at all means, please ensure that you do not share this information further, as you are not authorized, as it was sourced in an unlegal manner. Now, stay tuned. GMN continues more conversations after this break.